Do you think she's really out there? The boy's voice trembled, barely above a whisper, as he stared into the flickering shadows cast by the campfire. His father, a rugged man with deep lines etched into his face, looked away, his eyes scanning the dark woods that surrounded them. The night was thick with silence, save for the crackling of the fire and the distant rustle of leaves. You know the stories, son. They say she can take any form she wants. The boy shivered, pulling his jacket tighter around him. But Mom, she wouldn't hurt us, would she? The father hesitated, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavily in the air. Sometimes the things we love can become something else entirely. The legend of the Skinwalker was one that had haunted their family for generations. A creature born from dark magic, it could wear the skin of any living being, twisting their essence into something grotesque. The boy had heard the tales whispered in the dead of night, tales of people who had vanished, only to return as something unrecognizable. Mom went into the woods last week, the boy said, his voice quaking. She said she'd be back before dark, but she didn't come home until morning. The father's heart sank. He had seen the change in her, the way her laughter had turned hollow, her eyes glinting with a strange light. She was just tired, son. Sometimes we all lose ourselves a little. But the boy wasn't convinced. You don't believe that, do you? You've seen her too. The way she looks at us now, it's like she's not really here. The father's throat tightened. He remembered the night she returned, her clothes torn and her hair wild, eyes wide with a feral intensity. She's still your mother, he said, though the words felt like a lie. Then why does she go into the woods? The boy's voice cracked, desperation creeping in. Why does she stay out there for so long? The father turned his gaze back to the fire, the flames dancing like restless spirits. Sometimes the woods call to us. They whisper secrets we're not meant to hear. The boy's eyes widened, fear creeping into his heart. What secrets? Secrets about who we are, what we can become, the father replied, his voice low and gravelly. The woods can change you, son. They can take your soul and twist it into something unrecognizable. A chill swept through the air and the boy felt it settle in his bones. But Mom, she wouldn't let that happen, would she? The father's silence spoke volumes. He remembered the stories of those who had been taken by the Skinwalker, how they returned with a hunger in their eyes, a darkness that consumed them from within. We have to be careful, he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. We can't let her take us too. The boy's heart raced. What do we do? We stay together, the father said, his grip tightening around the boy's shoulder. We don't let her lure us into the woods. We don't let her change us. But as the night deepened, the shadows grew longer, and the boy couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them from the darkness. Dad, he said, his voice trembling. What if she comes back? The father's expression hardened, a flicker of fear crossing his face. Then we'll be ready. We'll remember who she was before the woods took her. The boy nodded, though doubt gnawed at him. He could still hear her laughter echoing in his mind, a sound that now felt like a distant memory. As the fire crackled, the boy's gaze drifted to the tree line, where the darkness seemed to pulse and breathe. What if she's already here? The father's eyes narrowed, and he leaned closer to the fire, as if its warmth could shield them from the encroaching night. We can't let fear take hold. We have to stay strong. But the boy could feel the weight of dread pressing down on him, a suffocating blanket that threatened to smother him. I'm scared, Dad. I know, the father replied, his voice softening. But we have each other. We'll face whatever comes. Just then, a rustle echoed from the woods, sharp and sudden, sending a jolt of terror through them both. The boy's heart raced as he turned to his father, who was now rigid, eyes fixed on the darkness. Did you hear that? The boy whispered, his voice barely audible. The father nodded, his jaw clenched. Stay close. The rustling grew louder, a cacophony of branches snapping and leaves crunching underfoot. The boy's breath quickened, and he felt the primal urge to flee. Dad, what if it's her? Then we stand our ground, the father said, his voice steady despite the fear that flickered in his eyes. The shadows shifted, and from the depths of the trees a figure emerged. It was tall and gaunt, its limbs elongated and twisted, moving with an unnatural grace. The boy's breath caught in his throat as he recognized the familiar silhouette. Mom, he called, his voice trembling. The figure paused, tilting its head in a way that felt wrong, too animalistic. "Come to me, my love," it crooned, the voice a haunting echo of the mother he once knew. The boy took a step back, fear clawing at his insides. "No, you're not her!" The father stepped in front of his son, a protective barrier against the horror that loomed before them. "Stay back!" he shouted, his voice breaking the spell of the creature's call. The figure's eyes glinted in the firelight, a predatory gleam that sent chills down their spines. "You can't escape me," it hissed, the words dripping with malice. "I am what you fear most." The boy's heart raced as he clutched his father's arm, the warmth of his father's presence a fragile shield against the encroaching darkness. "What do we do?" "Run!" the father shouted, and they turned, sprinting away from the fire, away from the creature that wore the skin of their mother. They dashed through the trees, branches clawing at their clothes, the underbrush tearing at their legs. The boy could hear the creature's laughter echoing behind them, a sound that twisted his insides with dread. "Don't look back!" the father yelled, his voice strained. But the boy couldn't help it. He glanced over his shoulder, and there it was, the figure gliding through the trees, impossibly fast, its eyes locked onto him with a hunger that made his blood run cold. "Faster!" his father urged, and they pushed themselves harder, adrenaline surging through their veins. They burst into a clearing, the moonlight spilling down like a silver veil, illuminating their path. The boy's lungs burned, but he didn't dare stop. "Where do we go?" he gasped, panic rising in his chest. "Over there!" His father pointed to a dilapidated cabin at the edge of the clearing. "We can hide inside." They raced toward the cabin, the door creaking ominously as they flung it open and stumbled inside. The father slammed the door shut, locking it with trembling hands. The boy pressed his back against the wall, heart pounding in his ears. "What if she finds us?" The father's face was pale, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "We'll wait it out. We have to stay quiet." But the boy could hear it outside, the creature prowling around the cabin, its breath a low growl that sent shivers down his spine. "Dad, I'm scared." "I know," the father whispered, his voice barely audible. "But we're safe in here. We just have to hold on." As they huddled together in the darkness, the boy felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they could outlast the creature. Maybe they could escape the nightmare that had taken their mother. But then, a soft, scratching sound echoed from the door, a sound that made the boy's blood run cold. "It's trying to get in," he whispered, eyes wide with terror. The father's expression hardened, determination flickering in his gaze. "We won't let it. We'll fight if we have to." The scratching grew louder, more insistent, and the boy felt the walls closing in around him. "What if it gets in?" "Then we'll face it together," the father said, his voice steady. But deep down, the boy knew the truth. The creature outside was not just a monster. It was a part of them, a reflection of their darkest fears. As the scratching continued, the boy felt a creeping dread settle in his chest. What if it's already inside? The father's eyes widened, realization dawning. No, it can't be. But the boy could feel it, a presence lurking in the shadows, waiting for the moment to strike. And in that moment, he understood. The Skinwalker was not just a creature of the woods, it was a manifestation of their own fears, their own darkness. As the scratching turned to pounding, the boy clutched his father's arm, the weight of their shared terror pressing down on them. "Dad," he whispered, "what if we can't escape?" The father's grip tightened, a flicker of fear crossing his face. "Then we'll face it together." But as the door splintered under the relentless assault, the boy realized that some things could never be escaped. And in that moment, he understood the true horror of the Skinwalker. It was not just a monster lurking in the woods, but the darkness that resided within them all. As the door finally gave way, the boy felt a chill wash over him, a sense of inevitability that left him breathless. "Run!" his father shouted, but the boy knew it was too late. The creature stood before them, a twisted reflection of the love they once knew. And in that moment, they understood the true cost of fear. And as the darkness closed in, the boy realized that sometimes the things we fear most are not outside us, but within.